The sun hung fiercely in the afternoon sky, burning down upon the red earth road that curved through the elegant lanes of Zuberi Hills, where polished stone houses stood behind tall iron gates. Along this path walked Amina, slowly, carefully, each step heavy with the weight of the child stirring inside her. Her belly was full with life, and atop her head balanced a shallow woven basket of sweet yellow njugu bananas, freshly harvested and neatly stacked. Fresh njugu, sweet njugu for sale. Her voice rang out, though fatigue dragged at her tone. Her swollen feet ached, her back throbbed with pain. But Amina had no choice. She needed to sell the fruit to buy maize flour, beans, and soap. She had been walking for hours, the heat pressing down like a burden she could no longer share. As she walked, her mind drifted to her late mother, gone only 9 moons ago, taken by a sickness no herbs or hospital prayers could cure. Amina had begged, worked, sacrificed, but the bills had grown heavier than her hands could hold. Now there was no family left, no arms to lean on, no one but her and the child turning gently inside. She placed a hand on her belly and whispered, "Soon, my little river stone. Soon I will find a place where you'll be safe." But then, like thunder striking from within, pain shot through her. She gasped. A warm rush flowed down her legs, soaking the dusty ground beneath her. "No," she cried, voice cracking. "Not now. Please, not now." Her hands clutched her belly as sharp contractions rippled through her body. The basket slipped from her head and the njugu spilled like scattered gold down the road. Her legs buckled. She could not walk. Panic surged. She looked up and realized she stood directly in front of a grand estate, tall golden gates, stone lions guarding the entrance, gardens blooming with hibiscus and lavender. "Help!" she cried. "Please, somebody!" Her voice echoed down the empty street, but no answer came. She collapsed on the hot ground, the pain growing unbearable. Inside the mansion, Safu Makana sat on a wide veranda, sipping coconut juice and picking at a plate of grilled goat. He was the wealthiest man in the province, hotels in 5 cities, fleets of trucks, his face in newspapers. But today, he felt the stillness of a too quiet heart. Then, a noise broke through the breeze, shouting, desperate and raw. Safu walked toward his front window, and what he saw startled him. A young woman lying near his gate, writhing in pain, her dress soaked, her arms clutching her middle. "What's happening out there?" he asked into the brass intercom beside the door. "Just a poor street hawker, sir," the guard replied, "probably pretending. They like to act dizzy when they see wealth." But Safu knew better. This was not performance, this was agony. He rushed down the front steps, his bare feet slapping the cool tile. When he reached the gate, he saw her clearly, Amina, struggling to breathe, her face drenched with sweat. "What's wrong?" he asked, kneeling. "The baby." "It's coming," she panted, tears in her eyes. "I have no one. Please help." Safu had never delivered a child before. His hands, trained for signing contracts and turning doorknobs of luxury suites, now trembled. He grabbed his phone, called for a medic. "Ambulance will take 20 minutes, the voice replied. 20? He repeated. "This child won't wait." Amina screamed. Safu saw the crown of the baby's head emerging. "You're doing well," he said, voice shaking. "Just keep breathing." He removed his silk tunic and spread it on the ground. He knelt beside her, knees on burning stone, his mind racing. "Push," he urged. "You're close, very close." Amina clenched her teeth and summoned all her strength, and then, with a final cry, the baby came, slipping into Safu's arms. A boy. A beautiful boy with dark hair and soft brown skin, slick and small and silent. The baby didn't cry. Safu's heart stammered. Then he remembered something he'd seen on a health documentary. He turned the infant gently, cleared his mouth and nose, and gave a light pat to his back. A moment later, a loud wail rose into the air. "There you are." Sefu said, his voice cracked with relief. Amina sobbed quietly, weak but smiling. He wrapped the boy in the cleanest part of his tunic and laid him in her arms. She held him close, her whole body shaking with joy and exhaustion. "Thank you," she whispered. "You saved him." In the distance, the sound of sirens rose. The ambulance was finally coming. "What's your name?" Sefu asked gently. "Amina," she said, still clutching her child. "Amina Kato." "Amina," he repeated. "You'll be all right now." But just then, Amina squinted at his face, something in it sparked memory. "Wait," she murmured, her voice trembling. I think I know you." Sefu looked puzzled. "We've never met, have we?" "9 months ago," Amina said. "The Bahari Hotel. You were at the rooftop bar. Drinking palm whiskey. You looked lost." Sefu froze. He remembered. The night he signed his separation papers. The night he drank more than he should have. The kind waitress who stayed to talk when no one else would. You were the waitress?" He whispered. Amina nodded. "And this child," her voice faltered. "He might be yours." Sefu remembered that night with the weight of guilt pressing into his ribs, the way the palm wine had burned down his throat, how the silence in his chest had screamed louder than any thunder. That night, his wife had walked out on him, her hand in another man's, her promises shattered like clay pots. He had sat at the rooftop bar of the Bahari Hotel, drowning his grief in drink, until a gentle voice had interrupted his spiral, the waitress, the one with tired eyes and the softest presence. She had asked nothing of him, yet listened to everything. And when her shift ended, he saw a shadow in her face too. "My mother is sick," she had said, barely louder than the wind. "The medicine costs more than I can make in a year." In his brokenness, he had offered her money. In her desperation, she had accepted. He told himself they were helping each other, but now, with clarity burning through his soul, Sefu felt the rot of shame. He had seen a drowning girl and handed her an anchor. Just then, Dr. Mbeki stepped out of the maternity wing, his white coat rustling like wings. "The mother and child are strong," he said, his voice warm. "You did well out there, Mr. Makina." "Doctor," Sefu said, his throat tight, "I need a favor. Can you test the child's blood? See if he's mine?" The doctor nodded. "We can have results by morning." That evening, Sefu stepped quietly into the hospital room. Amina was seated by the window, cradling her newborn son, her eyes far away. "Amina," he said gently, "can you tell me what happened after that night?" Her lips trembled. "When I got home that morning," she began, "I found Mama collapsed on the floor. I ran with her to the clinic, but—" Her voice broke. She left before sunset. Sefu's heart ached. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "The money you gave me," Amina continued, "I used it to bury her. I had nothing left. Then I found out I was with child." "Why didn't you try to find me?" Sefu asked. "I did," she said. "I came to your company building 3 times. The guards wouldn't even let me explain. They said I was just another village girl trying to get your money." Sefu's face burned with memory. His own instructions to security. Send them all away. "I lost the hotel job," Amina added. "The pregnancy made me too sick to work. I've been sleeping on mats beneath the mango trees, selling jugu bananas to stay alive." Sefu's heart was thunder and mud. While he dined in chandeliers, the woman who bore his child was begging beneath the stars. "Amina," he said softly, "if this boy is mine, I want to care for you both." But Amina sat tall. "I don't want pity," she said, proud as a mountain. "I want my son to live with dignity." The next morning, Dr. Mbeki returned with an envelope in his hands. "Mr. Makina," he said calmly, "you are indeed the father." Sefu turned slowly toward Amina and the child in her arms. The boy slept peacefully, but Sefu could see it now. The curve of his chin, the spark in his brow, mirror of his own. "What do you wish to name him?" Sefu asked. "Zuberi Daudi," Amina whispered. "It means strong and chosen." "Zuberi Daudi Makena," Sefu said aloud, and the name rang like a drumbeat. He sat beside her bed and took her hand. "Come home with me, Amina. You'll never sleep on the ground again." Amina looked away. "I've never lived in a mansion. I don't know how to be in that world." "You don't have to change," Sefu replied. "Just let me give you and Zuberi peace." She glanced down at her baby, the soft rise of his chest. She wanted a better path for him. "All right," she said. "But I don't want to be kept. I want to work." "Then we'll build something together," Sefu promised. 3 suns later, Sefu brought mother and child to his estate. The house towered over the trees, its windows reflecting the clouds. Amina had never imagined such beauty: marble floors, walls that shimmered like riverstone. "This will be your room," Sefu said, opening the door to a chamber fit for royalty. "And Zuberi's nursery is just next door," Amina stared. "This space is larger than the entire compound I grew up in." He had prepared everything: soft blankets, handmade toys, a crib carved from sweet mahogany. "You don't have to." "Give me riches," she said quietly. "I just need safety for my son." "You are his mother," Sefu replied. "And this is your home too." Yet even as she bathed in comfort, Amina felt like a stranger in her own dream. Her body was used to rough ground, her hands to work. Now, surrounded by silence and sweetness, she didn't know how to breathe. That evening, trouble arrived in heels. Nia, Sefu's longtime companion, walked into the courtyard. She was tall, radiant, a model who lived in glossy pages. When her eyes fell on Amina, holding baby Zuberi, her face darkened. "Who is this?" she asked sharply. "And why is she here?" "Nia," Sefu began. "This is Amina. She's the mother of my son." Nia's mouth dropped. "You're what?" Sefu told her everything: the night at the hotel, the delivery, the test. Nia's voice rose like a whip. "So you're saying you had a fling with this market girl? And now she's living in our home?" "This is my house," Sefu said evenly. "And Amina is not a market girl. She is Zuberi's mother." Nia turned toward Amina with eyes full of contempt. "Look at her, Sefu. She doesn't belong here. Pay her what she wants and send her back." "I'm not sending away my child," Sefu said firmly. "And I will not send away Amina either." Nia's face burned. She had planned to be the wife of a tycoon. Now, in her eyes, a stranger was stealing her throne. "Fine," she hissed, "but don't expect me to play nice." She stormed out, her perfume trailing like bitterness in the air. That night, Amina sat in the nursery, rocking Zuberi as moonlight slipped through the curtains. "Sefu," she said gently, "maybe I should leave. I won't cause war between you and the woman you love." "You're not causing anything," Sefu said. "You belong here with your son with me." Zuberi belonged in this home now, of that Sefu was certain. And if Nia couldn't accept it, she would simply have to learn. But Amina knew deep down that nothing ahead would be easy. In the weeks that followed, she struggled to find her rhythm inside this palace of polished floors and servants impressed. Linen. Each dawn, she rose before the sun, bathed her son with warm water and baobab oil, wrapped him close in soft kitten's cloth, and fed him while humming lullabies her mother once sang. Though Sefu worked long hours managing his many businesses, his transport empire, his hotels, his trading routes, he always came home with arms wide open for Zuberi. He had never held a baby before, but he was learning, and he cherished every soft gurgle and sleepy sigh. Meanwhile, Amina learned to navigate the shining machines in the massive kitchen. She cooked humble meals: spiced millet porridge, stewed beans, roasted sweet yams, the dishes she knew. And Sefu would always say, smiling, "This tastes better than anything my chefs ever serve." "You don't have to cook for me," he'd tell her. "There's staff for that." But Amina only replied, "I like to cook. It reminds me I still have a place in the world." Yet in the shadowed corners of the mansion, Nia lingered like a thorn in silk. Every visit came with cold stares and cruel comments. "She's using you," Nia whispered behind closed doors. "She trapped you with that baby. Women like her always have a plan." "That's not true," Sefu would say, his voice firm. "She didn't even know who I was when I found her." But Nia didn't stop. She chipped away, little by little, trying to poison what was slowly being built. Still, Sifu's eyes had changed. He began to notice things. How tired Amina looked after nights when Zuberi wouldn't sleep. How she smiled less on rainy days. He started bringing her tea in the mornings, asking if she was all right. One afternoon, he found her in the garden, her face buried in her hands while the baby napped. "What is it?" he asked, sitting beside her on the stone bench. "I miss my mother," she whispered. "She would have loved this boy. She would have laughed and told me I was doing everything wrong." But with pride in her voice, Sefu placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Tell me about her." Amina smiled through tears. "She worked like a warrior, 2 jobs, no rest. My father left when I was small, and she carried me through everything. Even when she was dying, she kept worrying about me. She was light. Then Zuberi comes from strength," Sefu said softly. "He's blessed to carry her blood." Amina looked away. "I just want her to know it wasn't all for nothing." That night, Sefu couldn't sleep. Amina's voice stayed with him. She wasn't just the mother of his son, she was a woman carved by storm and still standing. And as the days turned, something inside him shifted. He didn't just rush home for Zuberi anymore. He rushed home for her. He watched the way her face lit up when the baby laughed, the way her fingers moved gently across his tiny chest when he cried. She always knew what he needed, like it was written in her bones. And she was changing too. Amina had started reading his business reports, asking thoughtful questions. "You don't need to act interested," he told her one night. "I'm not acting," she said. "I want to understand your world. Maybe one day I can help with it." And Sefu was stunned not by her words, but by how sincere they felt. She hadn't stepped into his life to be saved. She wanted to build something. She hadn't studied in great halls, but she understood people like maps. One stormy night, Zuberi wouldn't stop crying. Amina tried everything, feeding, rocking, singing, but nothing worked. Exhausted, she sank to the nursery floor, tears matching her son's. Sefu came in, took the child gently from her arms, and began to pace the room, whispering softly. Soon, Zuberi quieted and drifted to sleep. "How did you do that?" Amina asked, amazed. "Sometimes babies just need a new heartbeat," he said, smiling. Their fingers brushed as he handed Zuberi back, and in that touch something electric passed between them. Nia noticed it too, and that terrified her. One afternoon, while Sefu was at the office and Amina was in the kitchen preparing cassava with coconut sauce, Nia arrived unannounced. She walked in like thunder. "We need to talk," she said coldly. "About what?" Amina asked. "About you leaving," Nia said flatly. "Sefu doesn't love you. He's just doing the honorable thing for the child. He loves me." Amina swallowed her anger. "That's between you and him," she said calmly. "I'm not here to take anyone." "Good," Nia replied. "Then you won't mind taking this." She placed a folded check on the granite counter. "It's 100,000. Take it. Leave. Never contact him again. He'll still send money for the boy." Amina stared at the paper. It was more than she had ever seen in her entire life. With that, she could rent a small house, buy food. For years. But something inside her, something forged in fire, refused. "I won't take your money," she said, pushing it back. "Why not?" Nia snapped. "Isn't money what you came for?" "No," Amina said firmly. "I came for nothing." But I won't let my son grow up without knowing who his father is. You can't buy me away. Nia's face flushed with fury. You'll regret this, she hissed. I'll show Sefu who you really are. And the next week, she did. Nia returned while Sefu was at work. She knew he kept cash in a safe in his study. She had once watched him unlock it, had memorized the numbers. And now she used them, while Sefu believed Zuberi belonged right where he was, in the heart of the home that had finally learned to hold more than gold. Amina knew that not every enemy strikes with a spear. Somewhere perfume, Nia's resentment had turned sharp. And in the stillness of that week's end, she made her move. She crept into Sifu's office, her heels clicking softly against the tile, and opened his safe with the quiet confidence of someone who had watched carefully over time. From inside, she withdrew a stack of cash 5,000 shillings in crisp notes and, like a serpent, slithered upstairs into Amina's room. There, between soft wrappers and baby clothes, she buried the money inside a wooden drawer and slipped out unseen. That evening, when Sefu returned from work, she was waiting at the veranda with a sweet voice and a snake smile. Darling, she purred, have you checked your safe lately? I feel like something's not right. Confused, Sefu walked into his office, opened the safe, and began counting, his brows furrowed. It's short. 5,000 is missing, he said. Aloud. Oh no, Nia gasped, feigning shock. How could this happen? Only a few people knew the combination. Amina didn't, but what if she had seen him open it? Maybe we should check the house? Nia offered too casually. Sefu didn't want to believe it, but his heart was tangled. He called. Upstairs, Amina, can you come here for a moment? She descended slowly, Zuberi tucked in her arms. She saw Sefu's troubled expression instantly. Is something wrong? She asked gently. Amina, Sefu said carefully, some money has gone missing from the safe. Do you know anything about it? Amina blinked in disbelief. I didn't even know there was a safe, she said. Well, Nia interrupted smoothly. Maybe we should check her room just to be sure. Go ahead, Amina said, her voice trembling. If you think I'd do such a thing, check wherever you like. Together, they walked to her room. Nia moved with too much eagerness, and within seconds, she reached the drawer and pulled out the hidden cash. Look, she said dramatically, waving the notes. Amina stared at the money, her mouth open, her body cold. I don't know how that got there, she whispered. I swear, I didn't take anything. Sefu's heart ached. He had started to trust her, maybe more than trust, but now this? How could you do this? He asked quietly. I believed in you. Please, Amina cried, holding her son close. This isn't mine. Someone planted it. Who would do such a thing? Sefu asked. Amina turned slowly toward Nia, whose face remained still, but her eyes smiled. I think she did, Amina said. That's ridiculous, Nia scoffed. Why would I? Because you want me gone, Amina replied. Sefu's mind swirled. The money had been found in her room, but her fear didn't look false. Amina, he said at last, I need time. You can stay tonight, but tomorrow you must leave. Amina felt like the earth had cracked beneath her. You can't take Zuberi from me, she whispered. If you're a thief, you're unfit to be a mother, Nia said coldly. Amina wept silently that night, curled around her son like a shield. Meanwhile, in the room across the hall, Nia was celebrating quietly, convinced her lie had worked. What she didn't know was that the spirits of the house had been watching more specifically, the tiny glass eyes of the security cameras hidden in corners. The next morning, Sefu prepared to speak with Amina again, but a whisper in his mind told him to check the cameras first. In the security room, he pored over the footage from the past days. Then, like a blade to the chest, he saw Nia entering his office when no one else was home, carrying something in her hand. then exiting empty-handed. Another camera showed her creeping into Amina's room, looking around nervously, and leaving. With that same slithery satisfaction, the truth burned through him. Without wasting another breath, Sefu climbed the stairs and found Amina packing clothes. "Stop," he said. "You're not going anywhere." "Please, Sefu," she said quietly, not even looking up. "Don't make this harder." "Amina," he said softly, "look at me." She did. "I know you didn't take that money. I saw everything. The cameras, they caught it all." Her hands dropped. "You believe me?" she whispered. "I'm sorry I ever doubted you," he said, his voice breaking. "You never deserved that." He called Nia and asked her to come. At once, when she arrived, her smile was wide. "Did you get rid of the thief?" she asked sweetly. "Yes," Sefu said calmly. "I did." Then he opened his laptop, turned it to face her, and pressed play. As the footage played, Nia's face drained of color. "I can explain," she started. "No," Sefu said. "You can't. You're a liar and a thief. You tried to destroy an innocent woman and tear a mother from her child." The police entered moments later. They had been called already. Nia screamed as the handcuffs snapped closed around her wrists. "You'll regret this," she shrieked. "That beggar will never love you like I do." Sefu looked at her and said, "Good. I'm not looking for the kind of love that comes with poison." The wind was warm that evening, rustling through the tall palms above, as Zuberi walked into the garden where Amara and little Nia were seated beneath a wide baobab tree, the child's giggles floating like music in the air. "It's over, Zuberi," said gently, his voice low with emotion. "Kalisha is gone forever." Amara looked up, her arms wrapped protectively around Nia, and replied, "You have nothing to be sorry for." Zuberi's eyes welled as he sat beside them. "I do," he insisted softly. "I should have shielded you from her from the very beginning." Later that night, when Nia was asleep in her woven cradle, Zuberi and Amara sat in the glowing light of lanterns inside the quiet sitting room, silence hanging between them like silk. "Amara," Zuberi began, his hands nervously clasped, "there's something I need to tell you." Amara leaned forward, heart thudding. "What is it?" she whispered. Zuberi took a breath. "When I brought you here to my home, I thought I was simply doing my duty as Nia's father. But things shifted." Amara's lips parted, her eyes wide and blinking fast. "With every day," Zuberi continued, "I found myself looking forward to more than just holding my daughter. I found myself drawn to you, to your laughter in the kitchen, the way you speak to Nia like the stars are listening, the way you stand tall even when the world wants you bent." Amara's throat tightened, tears rising uninvited. "Zuberi," she whispered. "Are you saying, 'I love you'?" he said, his voice cracking. "Not out of obligation, not because you bore my child, but because you are the most real, the most courageous, and the kindest person I have ever known." Amara looked away, afraid of hope, but it bloomed inside her chest anyway. "I love you too," she admitted through tears. "I tried to hide it because I thought someone like you could never truly see someone like me." Zuberi edged across the cushions and took her hand. "What I see is a woman who has walked through storms and still shines brighter than dawn." 6 moons passed, and the bond between them deepened like river roots finding earth. They had become a family not of circumstance, but of choice. Zuberi had been quietly planning something unforgettable. One starlit evening, he led Amara outside to the same baobab where she often sang lullabies to Nia. But tonight, it looked like a dream. The garden was bathed in the glow of 100 oil lamps. Flowers lay like a woven carpet, and soft drumming hummed in the distance. "Zuberi, what is all this?" Amara gasped. He knelt before her, holding a ring carved from river pearl and gold. "Amara Kintu," he said with a trembling voice, "that day you stepped into my life, carrying our daughter beneath your heart. I didn't realize the gods were sending me more than just a child. You taught me what love without pride looks like, what strength without noise feels like, what home without walls can be." Her hands flew to her face, tears rushing out like blessings. "So now I ask you," Zuberi said, holding up the ring, "not because we share a child, but because I want to share a life, will you be my wife?" "Yes," Amara cried, her voice cracking like rain. 1,000 times yes. Zuberi slid the ring on her finger and kissed her, just as Nia began to stir inside the house. They ran in laughing, hearts thudding, to find their daughter waving her little hands. 3 moons later, under the shade of the great baobab, they held there. Wedding intimate, joyful, perfect. Amara wore a cream dress stitched by her own hands, and Zuberi wore a deep blue tunic passed down from his grandfather. Nia toddled around in her beaded shoes, pulling flowers and clapping with joy. The guests included Zuberi's old business partners, some skeptical at first, but softened by Amara's warmth and strength. Amara had invited friends from the shelter that once gave her meals. They cried as she walked down the aisle. When the elder asked if they would honor one another forever, both answered with voices thick with love, "We will." And when they kissed, Nia clapped loudly and called out, "Mama," as if sealing the vow herself. After the ceremony, Zuberi stood and gave a speech. "There was a time when I believed riches meant houses, power, and gold. But Amara taught me otherwise. Real wealth," he said, his eyes on her, "is in the love you earn, the peace you build, and the joy you choose." Amara also spoke, her voice clear as the sky. "I once believed poor and rich live different worlds, but love builds bridges where walls used to stand. Zuberi didn't just give me shelter, he gave me a reason to believe in tomorrow." 5 years passed, and the family that was born beneath the sun, outside a golden gate, thrived. Nia had grown into a bright, curious girl with her father's stubbornness and her mother's empathy. She loved to curl beside Zuberi and ask about the names of stars and sit with Amara to hear stories of how brave women change the world. Amara had started a foundation called Roots of Grace, using Zuberi's wealth not for comfort but for change. The foundation built homes for homeless mothers, offered them training, helped them stand tall again. No woman should give birth in fear, she once told a group of reporters. No woman should trade her dignity for safety. Zuberi watched his wife with awe, knowing her fire outshone any empire he could ever build. One calm night, as the 3 of them sat on a woven mat beneath the stars, Nia placed her toys aside and asked, "Mama, tell me again how you met Baba." Amara and Zuberi looked at each other, smiling. "It was the sunniest day," Amara began, "and I was selling roasted plantains on the roadside, with you inside my belly. Then what happened?" Nia asked, even though she knew the tale by heart. "Then," Zuberi chimed in, "you decided it was time to arrive right in front of our gate. And Baba helped you come into the world," Amara added. "That's when we became a family. But the best part," Zuberi said, lifting Nia onto his lap, "is that we stayed a family not because everything was easy, but because we faced it all together." Nia beamed and wrapped her arms around both her parents. "I love our family," she said. "We love our family too," they replied in unison, their hearts full. And so they lived not without hardships, not in the absence of challenge, but with unity, truth, and unwavering love. Because sometimes the richest soil is found beneath the poorest paths. And sometimes the most broken beginning leads to the most beautiful ending.